Have you ever wondered why a 20% discount on a new phone sends people into a buying frenzy, but a half-price sale on salt gets, well, basically ignored? There's a hidden force at play, and today we're pulling back the curtain on it. It's called market demand elasticity. Let's get into it.
So here's the game plan. We'll start with a simple sensitivity test to get the main idea. Then, we'll look at that classic showdown between price and demand. After that, we'll see how your income, and even rival products, change the whole picture. We'll uncover the key factors that make things tick, and finally, we'll tie it all together to see why this stuff actually matters in the real world. All right, let's dive right in with our sensitivity test. So what on earth is elasticity? To really get our heads around it, let's just start with a really simple question. I mean, seriously, think about it. A new phone gets a little price cut, and suddenly it's all anyone can talk about. Lines form, websites crash. But you've probably never seen anyone rush to the store, clearing the shelves of discounted table salt, right? Why are we so wildly different in our reactions? Well, the answer lies in this really cool economic concept called elasticity of demand. And don't let the fancy name fool you. All it really is a way to measure how sensitive we are, how much our buying habits change when something, like price, gets tweaked. The best way to think about it is with a rubber band. Elastic demand is just like that. A small pull, a little price drop, causes a huge stretch in how much people want it. But inelastic demand, that's more like a solid piece of wood. You can push and pull on the price all you want, but our demand for it just doesn't really budge. Okay, so now that we've got the basic idea down, let's focus on the most common type you'll ever see: price elasticity. This is where we get to see just how powerful a price tag really is. So price elasticity of demand, or PED for short, this is the big one. It's the classic relationship. It's just a number that tells us exactly how much our desire to buy something shifts when its own price tag goes up or down. Now, to really get a grip on this, it helps to look at the two polar opposites, the absolute extremes of the spectrum. You probably won't find perfect examples in your local store, but they give us some really clear goalposts to understand everything in between. On one end of the scale, you've got something that's perfectly inelastic. The best example? A life-saving medicine like insulin. If you need it to live, you're going to buy it, pretty much regardless of the price. The demand is totally rigid. Then, way over on the other end, you have perfectly elastic demand. Think of a single company's shares on the stock market. If a seller tried to raise the price by just 1 cent above the market rate, demand would instantly drop to zero. Why? Because buyers would just get the exact same thing from someone else for cheaper. Okay, enough with the wild theories. Let's get back to our shopping carts because, in reality, almost everything we buy falls into one of 3 practical categories. So, in our day-to-day lives, things usually land in one of these 3 buckets. First, you have your relatively inelastic stuff, things like salts or toothpaste. If the price doubles, it's annoying, sure, but you're still going to buy it. Then you've got your relatively elastic goods, like smartphones or designer clothes. Even a small sale can trigger a huge spike in how many people want one. And then, smack in the middle, you have what's called unit elastic, where the percentage change in demand is pretty much a perfect mirror of the percentage change in price. But wait a minute, it's not just about price, is it? Other things can mess with our buying habits too. For example, how much money we make, and the prices of other products have a huge impact. So let's check out 2 more really crucial types of elasticity. First up, we've got income elasticity. This is all about how your shopping list changes when you get a nice raise, or, when your budget suddenly gets a lot tighter. It basically tells us what we buy more of when we're feeling flush and what we cut back on. And it works in 2 ways. For what economists call normal goods, think a new car or a vacation, our demand goes up as our income goes up. That makes sense. But for inferior goods, the opposite actually happens. As your income rises, you might stop taking the bus and decide to buy a car instead, so your demand for public transport actually falls. And next up is cross-elasticity. This one is all about the relationships between different products. It measures how a price change for, say, product B affects how much you want product A. It's a fantastic way to see if products are rivals or if they're partners. Think of it like this. Substitute goods are rivals, competing for your money. If the price of coffee suddenly shoots up, the demand for its substitute, tea, is probably going to go up too. Makes sense, right? On the other hand, complementary goods are partners in crime. They work together. If the price of gasoline skyrockets, people might think twice about buying a big gas-guzzling car. So car demand can actually fall. See? The products are linked. Okay, so we've covered the different types of elasticity, but that brings up a bigger question.
What makes demand for something stretchy or rigid in the first place? What are the secret ingredients?
Well, it boils down to a few key drivers. First, is it a necessity or a luxury? We're way more sensitive to price changes on luxuries. Second, how many other options are there? The more substitutes you have, the more elastic your demand is. Then there is how much of your budget it eats up. You're going to notice a price change on a new car a lot more than you will on a pack of gum. Then there are habits. Addictive goods tend to be very inelastic. And finally, time. The more time you have, the more you can shop around and find alternatives, which makes your demand more elastic.
But if you remember just one thing from that whole list, make it this one. By far, the biggest factor is the availability of substitutes. The more choices you have, the more power you have. If the price of your favorite soda goes up, you can just grab a different one. It's simple. More substitutes always means more elasticity. All right, so let's bring this all home. Why have we been talking about this? Why does elasticity matter? Well, this isn't just some dusty old theory for economists to argue about. It's a fundamental concept that shapes our entire world, from corporate boardrooms right down to your own wallet. Pretty much everyone uses this stuff, whether they know it or not. Companies live and die by it, using it to find that perfect price that brings in the most money. Governments use it to figure out what to tax. They love taxing inelastic things like cigarettes and fuel, because they know demand won't drop off a cliff. And for you and me, it helps us understand why prices are what they are, and how we can be a little bit smarter with our money. And that brings us to a final thought I want to leave you with. Go find your last shopping receipt. Seriously, take a look at it and ask yourself, for which of these items was my demand totally rigid, and for which was it super flexible? Just understanding that is the first step to becoming a much more savvy consumer.